You're enjoying Racing World. It's brought to you by Perspective Group. It's your global motorsport podcast show brought to you in conjunction with Race Control Magazine.
Well, hello and welcome to another edition of Racing World here on the IMS road course back straight, as it was just 2 weeks ago, now more just a service road. It's the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's qualifications day for the 106th running of the Indy 500. Qualifications right now, however, have come to a bit of a halt. As you can hear, no car noise behind me. Yesterday, Fast Friday, not a lot happened. The wind was almost like what it is now, up over 38 miles an hour, so very, very strong wind gusts. And really from about 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon on Fast Friday, very little track activity, if any, in the end. So Fast Friday really became dull Friday, and we lost a day on Wednesday because of the weather. So there's really only been 2 full practice days for the 500 this year. So much also for the story of we need all this practice time, it's going to really come down to just a couple of days of practice. Qualifications this morning did start. They started early because of the fact that rain is due in the area. It is expected. It did start. It's actually what brought a halt to the proceedings during qualifications. All cars have actually had a run now, so we could get a field set. But at the moment, track actions come to a bit of a halt. We'll have to see what the weather does over the next remaining 3 hours of qualifying today. And I guess by the time you get to the end of the show, you'll know the answer to that. So what can we report on? Well, it started early. The front runners, which were Renus VK particularly, Pato Award, great runs. Weather conditions were just absolutely ideal. It was still cool. The track was in great nick, and they've held those times at the moment as positions 1 and 2. Then it became a bit of a roulette after that as the temperature and the track temperature just grew more and more and more, and the humidity rose as well. Dixon got in there. I don't think it was an overly fantastic performance by Scott, but he's in there. McLaughlin was on the bubble and then ultimately got bumped out and is currently sitting on 14th. So this is a course to get into the 12, which will run again tomorrow. And then the 12 becomes 6, and then the 6 become 1, if you like. Surprise of the Andretti pack really is Romain Grosjean's leading the team there. He's comfortably inside the 12 at the moment, assuming nothing else happens today. And then the big one, Sato, he's just been absolutely quick all week, very confident in the Dale Coyne entry, very committed around this place. And he had another attempt at qualifying, hit the wall on lap 3 and kept on going, just kept his foot in it. And as he said after he'd finished that run, that's what you've got to do. You just got to keep going. And he is currently the man that is sitting 12th. So should qualifying start again, he's the one that's most likely to get bumped out. But very, very brave performance from Sato. I think the other notable points that we've seen so far is there was actually a reasonable crowd that came in yesterday to witness pretty much nothing, but it was great to see the crowd there. A good crowd here today as well for qualifying day. It's thinned out a little bit now because of the weather and may continue to thin out unless we get some track activity soon. The other things that you're noticing that are different here at the Speedway, there's been a lot of cosmetic work go on to transform the place since Rod Zapinski took over ownership of it. The place is looking pretty good. Merchandise, there's not a lot to choose from. They're blaming shipping delays and bits and pieces like that, but very limited selection of things like that for the fans. And the other big notable thing at the Speedway this year, and probably moving forward, is that it is now totally a cashless facility. So to come here, you have to use a credit card or a debit card, but you can no longer use cash at IMS. So that's just something to bear in mind should you come visiting the Speedway maybe next year. I think what we saw during the week was really good performances from the Ganassi cars and of course Sato, and then this morning things just got a little bit mucked up, and a lot of that was dependent on where your draw was in qualifying, and some people had later draws, and it certainly hurt you to go later. So VK and Pato Award certainly reaped the benefits of being one of the first out on track. The other big runner of course was Jimmy Johnson, finishing I think at the current moment 6th in qualifying, so that gets him into the 12 for tomorrow. Great performance from Johnson, looking very comfortable and continuing to learn all the time, but very, very comfortable around this place. Won here multiple times in the Cup car, and he'd be a dark horse for the race next weekend. This weather is expected to pass, and we should get back to the hot conditions that they experienced earlier in the week, but at the moment the weather is changing so fast. Drove through a storm the other night that was severely wicked. Tornado warnings, heavy rain, thunder like no tomorrow. So it's really just going to be a case for the next 2 hours to see what happens and whether we get any qualifying in. And as I said, you get further in the show and I'll reveal the answer. Well, in the end, things were delayed for about 90 minutes, and then the track went green once again, but the rain was still threatening, so it was a race against time. There were several cars that tried to have a go. Rossi was one of them, and then the big shock one actually was Penske and Scott McLaughlin. He was originally sitting 14th. They had a run, the track conditions deteriorated, and he ended up 25th. So it was a gamble, and the gamble didn't work. But ultimately, the field was locked in, and we move on to the Fast 12 tomorrow. So summarising those 12 that will then take the run for the Fast 6 and then ultimately the run for pole, they are, at the moment, VK, O'Ward, Rosenquist, Palau, Kanaan, Johnson, Carpenter, Ericsson, Grosjean, Dixon, Power and Sato. The notable things in there really are there are 5 Ganassi cars, 2 McLarens and 2 Ed Carpenter racing cars. Ed Carpenter team always deliver at Indy, and once again Carpenter, a part-time driver, he's made it through currently 7th, so it will be very interesting to see how it plays out. Track conditions tomorrow are expected to be a lot cooler, so anything's possible, but that was day 1 of qualifying for the 106th running of the Indy 500.